Hi, Amy. Thanks for joining today.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here.
Absolutely. So I'm excited to jump into a few different conversations with you, a couple different subject matters that I think are some of those things you just need to be talked about. And I know that from your bios, you're very dedicated to the subjects, things like, and I'll start with two is I'll actually read it because in your signature is holistic self-improvement for dream chasers, which I really love that. I just love that little snippet because there's such a depth in there. There's you could go so many places with that. I'm just going to say that before I get lost in the thought of that. So I think where we'll start our conversation is about, I don't want to say the word holistic, but the idea or the essence of holistic, because I have seen you use that in some of your communication and some of your written form. And what does holistic mean to you, either from a wide angle or a very specific?
Let's take it wide because holistic is such an all encompassing word. So, thank you so much, one, for having me here. I do love and appreciate being on shows like this, very aligned shows, and I'm just so excited. So, thank you so much. And holistic, what a beautiful word. So, I fell in love with the word holistic actually when I was really sick. And it was during my healing journey that I discovered the word holistic meant this all encompassing. It's about more than just one thing. And when you're going through the medical system, it's very much, it's just about this part. It's just about
Mhm.
this system. It's not a correlation of all things. And on that journey, learning to dive into holistic, being like, okay, my whole body is a community and it works together. My liver works with my gut works with my hormones. It's this whole thing. So we can't separate them. And then my external environment also plays a really important role for my internal health. And as much as we would love to separate those two, we can't. They both matter and they're both interacting all the time. And so I fell in love with the word holistic there. And then I started just expanding in my career, all of these other things happening. And I came across Next Level University. So that's the company I work with now. I partner with Kevin and Alan of Next Level University. They are dedicated to daily holistic self improvement. So as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, I love the word holistic. Let's dive into what that means. And it was just a really powerful connection to see that they were helping people with their holistic lives, not just their success financially, not
Yeah.
their fitness, because those two, believe it or not, go together so much. Your love life just intertwines, your family life intertwines. It's all a part. And I think we like to think of our success as separate from our home life and vice versa, when in reality, they all affect each other. If you're having troubles at home, you're going to have troubles at work. If you're having troubles at work, it's going to come in and infect your home as well. And so learning to understand that embracing holistic self improvement, health, wealth, life, quality of life, and love is really valuable and important. And it's been a really incredible journey to help bring that word into everything that I do.
That's beautiful. Yeah, I couldn't agree more because so much of it feels like it's or seems to be siloed. Start going back to jumping back to the medical aspect of it. There's a foot doctor, there's a shoulder doctor, there's a heart doctor, and it's no shame on the game, but it's systems within systems, and all that connective tissue affects it. So staying in the medical real quick is just if you go into the Eastern medicine with acupuncture, the nerves that are, if there's acupuncture in your feet, you could feel it at different points in your body. It's absolutely amazing. Our nervous system, circulatory system, it is all connected. And beautifully illustrated what you said is that in our life, our love life affects our career life, affects our physical life and how we approach our personal wellness or things like working out or what we're eating. All those things tie into each other. So if one is cascading, and there are things too, we can show up strong in certain aspects and a little bit, I'm just going to playfully say, feeling a little broken in other aspects. We can still manage as human beings because we are complex, beautiful creatures, and we have the ability to do that and adapt and show up. But there is a draw. Things can tug and pull on those different aspects, and to look at it in siloed versions is I'm not. It's not that it's wrong. I think we do it inherently as humans, and again, there's no shame in that. But it's cutting yourself off from some potential influence in your surroundings.
Yeah, I agree. And we can always categorize them, but just always
Mhm.
understanding that there are going to be a part of your it's a part of your fulfillment, it's a part of your wellness, it's a part of your quality of life, to understand that they do all go together. And how can we have harmony between all of them in the ways that matter most to us? And so I hear a lot of, oh, when you say holistic, it makes me feel overwhelmed because how can I balance my health, my finances, my relationships, my parenthood, all of these things? I said, well, there's the problem right there is balance. Balance is this falsity. It's just this BS
I
system
agree.
we're all trying to
Yeah.
chase, because balance
Yeah.
implies that we can be equally all things at once. And we're
Yes.
constantly chasing to have all of these things equal all at once. And what a losing game to try and
Yeah.
play. That's why I love the word harmony and flow. So we can flow in and out of the things that matter to us most. So this morning, let's use that as an example. I was very family oriented this morning. So my kids are home with me. I homeschool my children. And so we're home together, very family. So that's the hat I had on this morning. But right now, that hat is motherhood hat is always on a little bit. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
That never
yeah,
goes away. But right
yeah.
now I'm in my passion, I'm in my purpose, I'm in things that I like find fulfillment in. And so to think that I am mothering in a balanced way this morning as I am right now is delusional. And if I'm going to feel bad about not having that balance, I'm going to feel bad about myself right now because I'm not being a good mother right now because I'm not with my children. It
Yeah.
just creates so much shame, so much guilt. It's just this unwinnable game. When right now I'm here
Yeah.
to do what I love to do, and it's add as much value as I possibly can in this kind of space. And I have to step away from my motherhood hat for a little while. And so if you can give one momentum, my children have the momentum from me pouring into them this morning that's going to carry them through until I can touch base with them again later today.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think the one word I want to draw out is the guilt. I know for me personally, and I think a lot of people do, but I'll just use myself as a benchmark in there. I, through my adulthood, I carried a lot of guilt,
Mhm.
and which leads into the shame and the weight. And then I built duty, like a dutiful father or dutiful husband, and you create these things. Now it becomes this chore instead of I get to do it. I have to do it. You can get sunk into those things. And the balance, I couldn't agree more with the balance because it creates this cat and mouse, this chase game of thinking. And now what it is, I'm shaming myself. And where's that going to express itself and how I show up to other people in my work or my family or my life or friends or whatever that is. It's going to where I'm self esteem or my self worth. And it leads you into these rabbit holes. So you create these barriers or boundaries around yourself and without over categorizing it. We'll get into some form around some of these things that I know you have eloquently are able to put, but there's a draw in it that draws my energy away, feeling guilty. And it means I'm not being productive in these other things, or I'm not flowing and I'm not allowing them to go through me and be that loving father or husband, friend or coworker. I'm showing up in this formulaic essence. And don't get me wrong, I'm not consumed by it, but it's one of those things that is those threads that I believe that we carry with us. And if it's not something on the forefront, sometimes it's just in the background, kind of just chirping at our ears or gnawing at us in
Mhm.
small ways.
Mhm. And that voice in the background, sometimes it's not even conscious, but that
Yeah.
guilt, that shame that's being built in the background does eventually come to the forefront, and it comes out in different ways because we don't consciously understand what happened. And so that can be
Yeah.
really detrimental when we're acting out this shame, guilt, and we don't understand why, and then it gets acted out in our life in negative ways and erupting in anger or being impatient or all of these other things. So giving yourself permission to ebb and flow into the things that matter most to you is such a
Mhm.
gift. It's such an empowering thing to have the permission from yourself to be able to do that, because we can't be all things all at once. But we can have things
Right.
that matter to us. I think it's really important to know what matters most to you so that you know where your energy should be going, and then making
Mhm.
sure you can flow in and out of those things. I love the analogy of the spinning plates. Those people that have these
Mhm.
sticks and they spin plates, right? So if I'm holding all of these different sticks, so here's my motherhood plate, my spouse plate, my household, my work, everything I do that I not only volunteer for but get paid for, and all of these other beautiful things that I love to do, they're all a bunch of plates. And some of these plates are more important than others. Some of these plates are glass and some of them are plastic. So the glass plates, it's really important to me that not only do they keep going in momentum, but they don't drop. Because if they drop, they're going to shatter and it's way harder to put them back together. And then I have things that are my plastic plates where if they drop, it's okay. It's not going to shatter. It's not going to be detrimental. And I can pick
Yeah.
this back
You
up.
can pick them back up. Yeah.
Yes. And so knowing like having your top 3 to 5, I would say, glass plates, we always want it to be sustainable, is
Yeah.
so valuable. So I have like my 3 glass plates that I know, okay, I gave my motherhood, my parent family one this morning, a lot of momentum. So I know that I can step away now, trusting that is still spinning right now because I gave it energy this morning. And now I'm into this other hat. I'm into my service window. I'm into adding value. And this is a part of my fulfillment and everything. And that's going right here. And then later it'll be something else. But because I did this today, I have momentum created in this plate. The secret of the spinning plates, though, is that you are the one holding the plates. So if you go down, all of the plates go down with you. So one of your things
Yeah.
you really need to be focused on is making sure that you yourself are well so that you can keep flowing in and out of these things.
Yeah. You think about too, we all have reflection points throughout our life, and there's certain reflection points that might be times when some of us have certain crashes, and they could be a financial crash or a love crash or a health crash. These things do really feel like a full collapse, even though you might still have some of those things in motion. You're not creating new waypoints for them. You're not putting energy into them necessarily because you're so focused on the pain and stuff like that. Those times when it's just all encompassing, I would say there is a program that can run in us that says, keep going. I know I'll be through this. But maybe not everybody has the strength to continue, and there really is a crash. Now, there are necessary crashes in our life that reset our course.
Yeah.
Those are the ones we look back at 7 or 10 years later, and we're like, oh my gosh, I would have never predicted this direction that we took. But holy heck, I would never wish that on my worst enemy to, to feel the pain that I felt in those moments when they had those crashes. You had even mentioned you had some medical, you overcame some medical, and that probably really changed a pivot in your life that might have affected every aspect of it, I have to assume, and taking that direction. So I guess there's the times too, and this is a little bit off course, but I guess, are there some of those ways that you can give a little insight as far as to keep the energy going, even though there's a massive crash, or some of those delicate ones, those Fabergé egg versions of those do crumble?
Yeah, there's always, like you said, there's always going to be those moments where things need to pivot, things need to crash, or you need to be hyper focused on one of those plates. And what's really beautiful is you can decide to switch out those glass plates for plastic ones at any time. You have the power to do that. And so for me, like my home environment, so how my family is doing and how we are functioning and how we're connecting, like that's a really important plate for me. My own health and being, because I grew up so sick, is really important to me. And then my passions and purpose and work that I do, those are my 3 plates that I pour into as much as possible. Now, when I am sick, everything gets less momentum. Now, what's really beautiful is because all the rest of the time I'm focused on flowing in and out of those things that matter most to me. So I can take a sick day or 2, or I've had back injuries and things where I trust that because I've already been putting so much into these things, it's going to be okay for me to step away.
Yeah.
However, it's also really important then to ask for help in those things. If you need help keeping the momentum going in certain areas, who do you have around you who you feel is aligned and supportive of those things? That's really valuable to know and important to know who you can ask for help. And then at the end of the day, for the sake of the plates and for the sake of everything that you do in your life, you just need to take those moments. It's okay.
Yeah.
Right? It's okay when you're feeling better to come back into momentum, to build back up to sustainability, to build back up all of that momentum. But at the end of the day, if you're pushing through certain pains, discomforts, certain sicknesses, you're actually going to make it last longer. And you're going to be
Yeah.
taken away from your things longer. So trust that sometimes you need to hyper focus on something for the sake of everything else that you do. Because if you're down and out, then nothing eventually is going to get done. Right?
Yeah.
And
Have you
so,
heard of the teachings of the pendulums, using the word momentum?
Mhm.
And there's so much energy that you can't allow those things. You have so much energy built with them. They're still going to perpetuate in their own way. Eventually, without focus or attention, they will lose their energy. But I agree. There's things that we've put so much force, or not force. I threw out force in there. That's not. So that was interesting. That just slipped out. But anyways, we put so much energy and we create our waypoints. We're heading towards directions that we're flexible. If it's, I don't want to say done right because that's implies something. But if we really have a love for something or excited about it, we can set those waypoints and start heading and see where it develops. And enough energy behind them, they're going to continue on. So I
Mhm.
agree with you. You did touch on something. You said something about having people that you can trust and rely on. I really, what that sparked with me was a reflection of kind of the lone wolf. So many people, I believe, I know I've been guilty of it too, take on everything. It's the world. We got the world on our, we got the backpacks full of the weight of the world on our shoulders, the atlas carrying the world. And so it is interesting to say people that you trust on and creating those relationships. That's another big subject, but finding the aligned people, putting the energy out there, that is a really interesting aspect, depending on what it is. So
Mhm.
obviously with in a relationship or a family, you're ideally creating a strong partnership in that arena. In the career world, you had mentioned aligning with next level. So like you have co-creators there, and that's beautiful. And some of that stuff is, I don't want to apply hard either, so I want to be careful with my words, but like sometimes there can be a building process that's to find those trusted people that you know. But I
Mhm.
think sometimes too is, and I don't even know in this day and age, are people recessing into the lone wolf more, or are we coming together? And I see both ways. Yeah. And I think that's part of the journey. This journey of self mastery is not just, yes, there's the personal journey of putting our oxygen mask on first, but I think with the inlet of AI, the tool, and some of these other things and all the social media that were initially driving people apart, I do think that there's a calling from my seat, anyways. I see people coming back together in a sense, or at least seeking that or desiring it
Mhm.
instead of recess.
Mhm. I think so too, because I think at the end of the day, we realize that Atlas is very tired.
Yeah,
He looks like a tired guy.
he does look like a
The weight
tired
of the
dude.
world on your shoulders. Same with the
Yeah,
lone wolf. Wouldn't it be way better to hunt as a pack? And I bet
yeah,
you deep down that lone wolf craves that deeply, whether they consciously
yeah,
recognize that or not. And you said two things there where you pulled away from the word force and the word hard.
yeah.
Now here's
Yeah, I know.
something.
I was like,
Yeah.
yeah,
So,
it's the stuff
but
that comes out. Yeah, that comes out through us.
those words aren't exactly negative though.
Right.
Sometimes it does take force. We call it grit. Sometimes you just need
Mhm.
to grit something out and force it out, and that's for the sake of your goals. It's one of those moments where you need to override your feelings, facts over
Mhm.
feelings. Like, F my feelings for this moment. I said I was going to do this thing. And even though I'm feeling down and out and tired, it's been a busy day. How can I do this thing? How can I have grit for just this moment? Even if I don't do it perfectly, even if it's messy, even if it's not how I wanted to get it done, how can I do this thing for the sake of keeping that promise I made to myself, for the sake of my goals, for the sake of the compound effect, however you want to connect to it, to get this thing done? Because what that does is it builds self belief, especially when you're doing something that is hard and you don't feel like doing in that moment. You have to
Yeah.
be able to release perfectionism for sure, because a lot of people, if you can't do it the exact way you wanted to, or you can't do it perfectly, you're not going to do it at all. That's a whole nother topic. Perfectionism, we need to let that go.
It is.
And
Yeah.
so sometimes it's hard. And I think what gets misconstrued in the world is we hear all these, I'm going to say it, it's toxic positivity to say if it
Yeah,
feels
yeah.
hard, it's not for you. And I disagree so strongly, because sometimes the
Yeah.
things that are for us, let's even just use something like a beautiful, healthy team marriage. Sometimes that's hard. And I would argue that the hard things you dive into for the things that matter most to you are where the gold is, like where the most important things are. If we're avoiding hard all the time, we're going to have this very superficial, not in depth life. And so, no,
Yeah.
should things be hard all the time? Absolutely not. But there are things that I am so passionate about that fulfill me so much. And some days they're hard, but I'm even more
Absolutely.
fulfilled after I get it done than anything. And sometimes we have to trust
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And thank you for saying the fulfillment, because that truly is. Uh, Anytime I've been knocked down and I know that I want something, you're going to plow through it with grit. There's no more fulfillment and sense of purpose that comes through
Mhm.
on that. If it
Mhm.
came easy, the appreciation isn't there and the depth might not be there
Yeah.
necessarily, too. Sometimes even the hardness can be field awareness. That can be the resistance points. The way is through. And sometimes if you don't have the resistance point, you can't see that as actually the way to get through.
Yeah,
And
and
if
you
it's
miss
strictly easy
out.
process.
You
Yeah.
miss out on
And I do. There is a toxic positivity or everything is sunshine, butterflies, and unicorns.
Rainbows.
And you have to retain that in your communication and your wording and your verbiage and everything else. And there is something to be cognizant and conscious of your words, of your intentions. But it's not always pretty. Like you already said, it can't be perfect.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing too, is you can get stuck into analysis paralysis and not act at all. And there's something too with this, with the podcasting and the speaking and all these things. There's always new subject matter I'm working on. And one was, I was really thinking about, it's not necessarily the positive, it's not necessarily like the analysis paralysis, but I think from an observational point, I've seen people, let me do it in a parenting thing, because we brought that up. We all know what a bad parent is, in a sense, or what bad parents can do. So sometimes there's things that we do are like, I'm not going to do A, B, C because that's my view and that's what I think a bad parent is. But, and I'll answer the question before I even ask it, but the answer is no. But the question is, if just because I'm not a bad parent, does that make me a good parent? And I'm going to say no, because being a dedicated, good, excellent, whatever, those versions of there is a different path to that type of dedication or learning process and feeling your way through it. But I see people that just do this thing where like, I just didn't do anything bad. I just want to work. I just want to be here in work situations. Like, I just want to do this. I just want to be left alone. And they're not really creating. They're not really acting. And I guess, and I'm being a little bit over dramatic and cartoonish with this example, but there's an inaction. And just because you're in an action and you're not doing the wrong thing doesn't mean you're doing the right thing.
Yes.
Either. So,
just because you're not doing something poorly does not mean you're doing it excellent.
Correct. Yes. Thank you. That's a better way to say it.
There's no strive for excellence. And I love the example of parenting. So just because you don't do all of the terrible things that you could does not make you a great parent. It means you're doing the bare minimum. You're being
there you go.
bare minimum. Totally. If the level of neutral is here and you refuse to go below neutral where you're doing terrible, abusive things, yay, that's good. But that shouldn't be the line you're striving for. We should be going here. Now, granted, everyone has a different capacity and capability for what above the line looks like. But I as a conscious parent, that hits so hard for me because yes, there's so many things that I'm proud of that I don't do with my children, but what I'm really proud of is the work I've done to be better for them.
Right. Those communication points, the really meeting at the heart and the heart space and mind.
And also learning that I have to take care of myself. To be a great parent, I need to have enough capacity within myself to be patient, to be loving, to be able to give all of that at the abundant level that I strive to give for. It's really important for my husband and I to be in a really good space for the sake of my children and all of these things. And I know that's not always the case, and we do have to work really hard on both of them, but it's holistic. They blend in together. And so understanding that, one is really empowering, and it comes back to that word fulfillment and easy. They're not the same. I think that's another mistruth that is out there is, oh, if it's easy, then I'm fulfilled. If it's fulfilling, it should be easy. Typically, actually, being fulfilled means choosing the harder choice.
Yeah.
Fulfillment isn't just happy. Fulfillment's a whole nother ballgame. It involves being happy. It involves being joy. But it also involves contribution as well. It involves things that are hard. So me choosing to not work out in a day is the maybe easier choice, but is it the most fulfilling choice? Right? Fitness is such a good example. Am I more fulfilled after I do the hard workout versus not? Absolutely. So fulfillment isn't always just this easy thing, just like you with the line. It's not, you're not expanding into great and even good. You're just not sucking. It's different.
I think that, and there is a big distinction in there too. I really do. That's that example. It's just because you're not, and I think our brains, a lot of times, they just want us to survive. It's just breathe, keep it easy, go to sleep, stay safe. And it's designed like that.
Like
and there's the hard
burn to the ground today, so I'm okay. Some days, some days that is the win, and I will give you that. There are some days where everyone's sick, and you know what? We're all alive at the end of the day, and the house didn't burn down. Awesome.
Yeah.
There are times
like, thank God I made it.
And I accept it. But there's a difference between playing not to lose and playing to win.
Yeah. Thank you. That's a great way to put it.
Those are two. So
Yeah.
you doing the bare minimum to just not be terrible is just playing not to lose.
Yeah. That's a
You
great way to put it.
taking on more and being more, becoming more. And I'm not just talking about financially successful or anything that in success
Yeah.
is so individual. So in an area that is important to you that you want to do better in, that's success to me. And so even if it's in parenting, wellness, anything like that, playing not to lose is different than playing to win is you playing above the line and consciously
Yeah.
putting an effort to get as away from the line as possible.
Yeah, I genuinely love the way you just articulated that, playing not to lose. It's been something that's been circling around, and that thought you pontificate on different aspects of our human psyches or behavioral patterns. And that's one of those ones. And I think that's a great way to put it, playing not to lose. The difference is playing to win.
Mhm.
Yeah, that one's going to be that'll come out in the communication over time, at least with my podcast, and I can say that resonates with you as well. So that
I
was a
love
great
it.
one. I did want to jump to, because something that we spoke on briefly before we got on here, and just in your writing, is things like self-worth
Mm,
and self-belief, and then on the other side of that are the things like the self-sabotage or inaction that we just touched on too. But if we could springboard into that self-worth, self-belief topic, I'd absolutely love that. So I'm not
I
even going to ask you a question. I'd love for you just to springboard into that.
I would love to, and I can even make the connection. If you're playing not to lose, you have low self-belief. If you're playing to win, you
There
have
you go.
high self-belief, and you can
Yeah.
build self-belief. So, two pivotal pillars in our life and anything we are trying to achieve, like I said, success is individual to everybody. These two pillars matter in any journey you are taking on. Whether it's a health journey, a fitness journey, a dietary journey, a success as a monetary journey, a relationships, parenting, anything. Two pillars are self-belief and self-worth. And if you can start increasing those, you're going to not only switch from the category of playing not to lose and playing to win, you're going to find more success and more capacity for success with these two pillars. And so self-belief is what we believe we are capable of achieving in the outside world. So let's keep using that analogy of playing not to lose versus playing to win. You do not believe you are capable of going beyond this line of neutrality. You believe you're capable of not doing the terrible things, but you don't
Mhm.
believe enough that you're capable of doing what it takes to be beyond that neutrality, beyond that, to be good, even great. Self-worth is what you believe you are worthy of in life. And there's a lot of things there that, like anything, relationships, money, all sorts of things, but what do you believe you're worthy of? And so you not only building self-belief so that you can go to play to win, your self-worth has to keep up with that, or you're going to self-sabotage in some sort of way because you've reached a level that you internally don't believe you're worthy of. So you will go back
Mhm.
down. And so self-belief, let's use a house. If I gave you all the time, money, books you needed to build a house, like what level do you believe you could do? Do you believe that's possible? That's self-belief, the building of the house, you putting in your time and energy into building this house. Now you've got the
Yeah.
house built. So you believe you could build this house. You've got the house built. Self-worth is not only the foundation that the house is built on, but how the house gets treated now. So are you going to allow
Mhm.
people to come into your home that you have put so much time, energy, money, effort, all sorts of things into with their muddy boots? Are they gonna be able to come in and spill red wine all over your effort? Are you allowing people to
Um,
do that? So that's
yeah.
self-worth and self-belief. They go together, but they're slightly different.
Oh, I love that. I do love that. I don't know if you were, I don't mean to talk over you. I haven't actually heard anybody articulate it in that way. And I genuinely love that, because there is the worth, the value, the belief. There is a distinction there. And I'll definitely be noodling on that one for a while. So I thank you for that, the belief in there, and the belief of being able to do something, and the worth or the value of where your level is. That's really cool.
Yeah,
So
and
I'm actually just, I'm lost in my head with that. And I
yeah,
got to remember I'm on a podcast right now talking.
well, I can give examples of how we can build both. So let's make sure that your
Yes, yes.
listeners
All right.
walk away
All right.
from
Let's do that.
today's episode knowing that they
Absolutely.
can
And
build
I'll
both.
add too.
So self-awareness is really important, understanding where you're at. Self-awareness and having humility, so accurate self-awareness, self-sense of where you're at. If you're listening to this at home, try and rate yourself from 0 to 10 where you're at. What is your genuine level of self-belief? How capable do you believe you are? And then self-worth. How worthy do you believe you are from 0 to 10? And just start with that assessment. Be honest. It's okay if it's low. Most of us, our community is honestly
May I
built.
ask one question
Yes.
on that? I'm so sorry to interrupt.
No.
With the rating like that, because this is a good working process, is because the way I envision that is I'm asking myself a question. Can I do this thing? And I'm trying to think of something. If it's maybe somebody's going for a job, or I'm trying to think of some obscure, and we could think of many, I'm sure. So I'm going to apply for this job. And am I capable of doing this job? Do I have the belief that this is the position for me? And do I feel worthy of this position and this pay scale? And then I'm rating myself through these questions in a sense, or I'm saying, where is my heart say, or where's my gut instinct say in this scale?
Mhm.
And that's the way I interpreted it. Am I close to how you're
Yeah, so
explaining
you're
it?
taking it down to this next level. So I deeply believe that if we
Oh,
can tie
perfect.
this to something, it's even more valuable. So just as a whole, your capability and worth as a being, 0 to 10, start with that. Now, if you take it down into categories, so if you were to give me myself, if you asked me, "Hey Amy, I have this event coming up tomorrow and I had a last minute speaker cancel, like I need you to go on stage for an hour and talk about either women's health or self-belief and self-worth. Can you do it?" Absolutely. I would feel like 9 out of 10 belief in that, no problem. "Hey, Amy, how much belief do you have in being able to be like work out every day?" My level used to be a 2. Those are 2 very different categories of my belief in that capability that I have. Because I grew up so sick, my inflammation kicks up so easily. I used to have never been able to be consistent in fitness. So I had really low belief in that area. I have built a lot of belief in my capability and capacity to be able to step into a room and speak into other people's lives. I just have 2 different set points there. So I had to have humility to be able to be honest with myself that I have never been able to be consistent in fitness. So I was at a 2. And then we want to bring in sustainability. So we can even get into that. I was able to build belief. Now I have, through a process of what made sense to me, I move my body in an aligned way for a half hour every day. And I have been able to do so for 860 days.
There you go.
I
Yeah.
keep track.
Now you have proof. You have proof of concept.
So my original belief was 2. I am now, with that sentence, if you had asked Amy, what is your belief in you going to the gym, weightlifting every day for at least an hour? 0. It's not, I would never be able to have a consistent streak with that whatsoever. My little town on this dirt road that I live on, like I don't even have a gym in town. I'd have to go to the next town over, which already creates too much of a barrier to entry. And I would talk myself out of it regularly. So I had to make sure it was a sustainable way to build my beliefs. So my sentence is moving my body for a half hour every day that is in alignment with how I'm feeling that day or what my day entails. So some days, yeah, I get to lift weights at home and do yoga. And some days it's a walk with my kids because that's what needs to happen. And so sustainability for the sake of consistency is really important. But to build self-belief in doing those small things every day, that's where the magic happened. So now my belief at being able to move my body in a line way for a half hour every day is obviously very high because I've been able to do it for almost 3 years. Whereas before I was never able to be consistent in that. I needed permission to be able to do it imperfectly. I needed permission to be able to do it in an adaptive way that made sense for my very busy life. And so all of those things matter. And so we have a framework for consistency as well, but I want to start with self-belief. Bringing it back to your question, just as a being, you can go from 0 to 10, but if you in your mind or at home listening have a specific goal that you are working on, we're coming into the new year, people are thinking of their goals. What is your belief in that goal? Do I believe it's possible? Do I believe it's possible for me? Those are 2 different things. And what is my belief around all of it? But those 2 are really going to help you. Those 2 questions around belief is really valuable. Do I believe it's possible? I have seen in the world that people have been able to accomplish this thing. So I believe it's possible. But do I believe it's possible for me? That belief might be
Yeah.
lower, and that's okay. Here is how we build self-belief. 3 steps, super simplistic, impactful for sure, challenging some days, and that's okay. So if you picture a little triangle, we've got 3 points, and it's state, prove, and self-assign. And so first is stating, and I love using laundry. We're going to use laundry as an example because people will always find ways to not give them credit for doing laundry. So today I'm going to do laundry. Prove that you can do it. So get it done. Say you're going to do it, do the thing. The secret sauce is in step 3. Self-assign, self-celebrate. Give yourself the credit for the thing that you did do. And why I love using laundry is because if you can learn to give yourself permission to celebrate the fact that you did something as necessary and simplistic as laundry, then you can do it for the big things too. But why we want to do it with laundry or brushing our teeth or moving our body every day or making healthy meals, whatever it is, something that you can do daily, tie it to something that you can do daily, because what we always want to do is be leveraging the compound effect. If you haven't read The Compound Effect, it's an excellent book. Highly recommend it to everybody. Recommend it. Building in the compound effect is how we succeed sustainably and successfully over time. We're building a solid foundation that's going to last for a really long time. And so state, prove, self-assign. Say you're going to do the laundry, and instead of spiraling in between step 2 and 3, oh, I could have done more laundry. I should have folded it and put it away better. No, you did the thing. Give yourself credit for it, right? We will constantly talk ourselves out of giving ourselves credit, especially if you have low self-worth. And 90% of the people that I work with, talk to, most of our community have high self-belief and low self-worth. So this is
interesting.
The people I'm speaking to.
Do you feel that celebrating in that window of celebrating and it, because I know that there's different aspects of my life. It was like some I can celebrate the small ones, and other aspects I'm just like, I just gruff it off. And it's like that those little celebrations, like it's not enough or something, some version in there too. So that celebrating is a big thing. And I want you to keep your thought going too. But I do like where you said there's a belief. Is this possible? Period. End of story. Period. Is this possible in this world, in this corporeal world? Yes, that's possible. Now, is it possible for me? And there is a big distinction in there. And I'm really glad you said that, because people can believe it, but they'll externalize it.
Yes.
That's possible, but it's for somebody else. And whatever class of person you imagine it to be okay for, it's an externalization of it. So that was awesome that you brought it back, because I've thought about that before too. There is a distinction. I know that this is possible in this world, but is it possible for me? So I just wanted to keep repeating that, because that is a great distinction between that and the connective tissue. Once you realize it's possible and it's possible for me, that's a real powerhouse right there.
Yeah. And now how do I get it? And if I don't believe it's possible for me yet, how can I build that belief?
There you go.
This is something I desire greatly. How can I build the belief that it takes for me to achieve that thing? And it's all about breaking it down into something really small and sustainable that you can do every day so you can build that belief. I have my clients and everybody state, proving, and self-assigning on at least one thing a day to build their self-belief, to build their self-worth. And sometimes if they're really the type of person that can't self-celebrate, can't self-assign for the mundane, air quote, mundane things, that's where we start. You say, okay, what is something that you just do every day that is really amazing? No, like it's so hard for people to come up with that. Well, I don't do something amazing every day. I'm like, okay, then we need to shift the definition then for you. How can you bring some amazement into what you do every day, some intention into what you do every day, so that you can just build this beautiful pillar of self-belief over time? Now, granted, it takes time, and it's important to put that time in. And as much as I would love to give you this one-liner sexy answer that you can build self-belief in 3 days with these 3 steps, it's not the way. Time, it takes time, but when you have permission and acceptance that it's going to take the time, then it's okay. If someone tells you to build self-belief in 3 days and then you don't, then you think you messed up. You think there's something wrong with you and that you are not meant for this thing, or this thing is not meant for you. So where can you give yourself acceptance? Accept that it's going to take time, so put it in anyways. That it's going to be hard in some moments, do it anyways. Those kind of mentalities are more empowering.
Yeah. The beauty and the genius really is in the mundane, those little creative points. And it's easy to overlook those and not give yourself credit or beat yourself up like it wasn't good enough. Those are really interesting points. And even too, using the workout thing, Some of us go through ebbs and flows in our life. Some people are consistent. Some of us go through ebbs and flows. I've gone through ebbs and flows where I'm very dedicated. And there's times where I'm just like, I've just lost all desire. It's just, I know it's good for me. I know I'm going to feel better. I just don't care. And you go through these times, and then doing the movement and then realizing and the consistency and kind of being like, no, this is part of my life, and building those, to your point there. And then having that celebration, I really feel is key. I think there can be times, I'll just admit it, there can be times where it's easy to forget to say, hey, you did a good job to yourself.
That's not something that we're given the tools to do on average as we
Right.
grow up. It's not something
Yeah.
we take into adulthood, which is too bad, because how often do we see kids learning how to do something, and when they're struggling, we're still celebrating them? There is
Right.
no
Yeah.
one telling a toddler, hey, you know what? You tried walking a couple times, you fell down. Maybe this isn't for you. You ever thought of doing
Let's
something
just give up
different?
together, little guy.
Yeah, it looks hard. Maybe that's not for you. Like, how much, especially the people in our lives, are trying to talk us out of the things that we're working hard for
Yeah.
because
There
they
you
don't
go.
have a good relationship with hard. And so
Yeah.
that looks really
Or
hard.
they don't, they even go into the thing where you talked about, is it possible? They don't
Yeah.
forget even for themselves. They might then think it's possible in this world at all. So why would you be able to do it if I don't think it's possible?
Yes. And if
You
they
know, so
don't believe it's
then,
possible for them, they're really going to come in and
yeah, then they really are not going
check
to
that belief.
support.
Yes.
Yeah. It's a very big thing, because that's your community, that's your base. And if it's
Yeah.
close to a family member or a close friend or something like that, it really can sink into us. And the repetition of hearing them, understanding what their visceral reaction is going to be when I say, I want to create something extraordinary and big. And then it's wah, wah, the air's let out of the room.
Yeah.
But not allowing, and it does take time. That takes time too. At this stage and age in my game, I'm not necessarily concerned what the world says about me at this point anymore. But I definitely had times in my life I was. And admittedly, thinking back, I let it hold me back in my own way. I let myself hold me back with not extending too far, too fast, and those allowances.
Which is a beautiful transition into self-worth.
Yeah.
When we're really concerned with what people think of us and we have so much external influence that we allow to come in, it's a self-worth thing. So you can
Yeah.
categorize it into
Absolutely.
self-respect, self-love. They all go into self-worth. And self-worth is a whole nother ballgame. So the framework that
Yeah.
we have for self-worth, if you picture a pyramid, we like pyramids, triangles, and stars. At Next Level University, there's a lot of those. So the like triangle of self-belief was state-proof, self-assigned. Now we're looking at a pyramid, okay? And the base of the pyramid is really important. And this pyramid is broken up into 5 little sections, coming to the point at the top. But the base of the pyramid for self-worth is keeping the promises you make to yourself. And that's really beautiful because it ties into self-belief, right? That's exactly what that framework was about self-belief, is you saying you're going to do something and then you do it and then you self-assign what you did. And so that is, so the bottom is keeping the promises you make to yourself. And that's where that force and that grit and that hard comes in sometimes, because sometimes at the end of the day, you said you were going to do something. And if it's in one of those key pillars or in your key goals or anything like that, sometimes you just have to grit it out and get it done because you said you would. And it's going to build
Yeah. Can I add on that?
Yes, please.
I was going to say, if you don't feel reliable, like if you weren't reliable to somebody else, they'd give up on you. If you
Yes.
feel like you're not reliable to yourself, just even in the mundane or the simple or the big, whatever it is. If I'm in this state and I'm like, I just can't believe in myself, I just can't trust myself, I'm going to start in this little routine and go, boo-hoo me.
Mhm.
If you do the promises, you can rely on yourself. You're like, no, I am trustworthy to myself. And
Mhm.
I honor and respect that.
Mhm. And
So
you can
I
have
like that
things in a day
starting
that
point.
are extra that you tried to take on that weren't in your core fundamental things that you can let
Yeah.
go of for the sake of gritting out that one core fundamental thing that you're doing. So if your one main goal right now is fitness, everything else can fall away that day, move it to the next day, but you need to do the one that you said was for fitness, right? Again, it can be
Yeah.
messy. You might have to pivot how it looks a little bit. Do something, right? It's that saying that there's an apple a day is better than 7 apples on Sunday. It's that, right?
Right.
Some days we have this big, juicy, perfect apple, and other days it's this tiny little apple, but you know what? Whatever, we're getting it into us, and it's fine. It's that.
Mhm.
Sometimes we have to be okay with it's done. It's not great, but I've checked
Right.
the box. Have you checked the box? This is why tracking is so valuable. I know how many days I've worked out because I track it. I'm telling you, when you get a streak going on something, it is harder to stop doing it. For me to not work out today and all of a sudden go back down to day one after 860 days, are you kidding me? Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
And
Yeah.
some of those days, these workouts, and I'm using air quotes again, are not full workouts. They're me just moving my body for a half hour and whenever that looks good. So let go of perfectionism. Sometimes it's just for the sake of checking off the box. And that's the power, is getting it done, not how well you got it done. It's that you got it done. And just trust that there are going to be days where you can do it better.
Yeah. Beautiful. So reliable is one of
The
them.
promises you make to yourself. That's right.
Okay.
The next one.
Keeping the promises. I use reliable. Sorry, keeping the promises.
Well,
Okay.
reliable is an all-encompassing word for that. And again, how reliable are you to others versus yourself? I guarantee it's more to others. For the average person, it's more to others. How can you flip that and trust that your relationship with yourself is one of the most important ones that you have? And so cherishing it and learning to value it with self-worth, building self-worth, keeping the promises you make to yourself. The next one is courage. It's especially social courage. Are you courageous enough to be your authentic self? And how can you take small, sustainable steps into being more courageously you? So how often do we suppress ourselves in what we want to say or feel? How often do we not say something because we're scared to lose love? How often are we dancing around other people or people pleasing or saying yes to things that aren't aligned, saying no to things that maybe would be? How can you have more courage?
Okay.
The next one is boundaries.
Okay. Boundaries.
Learning to create, hold, and set healthy boundaries for yourself. Not quick little thing. Most people are doing boundaries wrong. Most people are setting rules. A lot of us are trying to set rules instead of boundaries. Rules control other people. At the end of the day, you only have so much control over that, right? So rules control other people. Boundaries control ourselves because we only have control over ourselves. I'll give you an example. You're in an argument with someone. You're having a nice little discord, and someone starts yelling at you, raising their voice, calling you names, and you say, "You can't talk to me that way. Stop it." At the end of the day, they can. We can't control what comes out of their mouth. They can keep yelling. They can keep calling you names. You can't control that. What we can do is set a healthy and firm boundary. Hey, if you continue to choose to yell at me, raise your voice at me, and call me names, I am going to choose to leave this conversation. Do you see the difference?
Absolutely.
Now you have control over your actions.
Right.
So that's you just really implementing self-respect is a filter for self-worth. I constantly run my life through the filter of, is this going to increase or decrease my self-respect? If I ditch my workout, is that going to increase or decrease my self-respect? If I hang out with these people again, does it give me a boost? Does it increase my self-worth, my self-respect? Or do I feel like garbage afterwards and it decreases my self-respect?
Right.
Okay, then that needs to pivot. Less time with those people.
Yes, exactly.
So that kind of self-respect really encompasses boundaries and courage, definitely. And the next one is investing in yourself. Now, a lot of us take this too far. We think, if I can't get away for a weekend getaway or a self-improvement retreat or things like that, then what's the point? Again.
There can be costs to these things. And I don't want to use the word balance, but still there can be a draw from this. Like, I'm going to go out and celebrate and travel to the Bahamas or something like that just because I deserve it. But there's a draw somewhere in your life. So there's cognizant of it, of the investment. And when I hear investment personally, this is my selfish view. I think that heart space investment. There's our mind, our heart, and then you get into the gut mind and things like that with the instinct, but it's just that heart space of what lights me up and what am I investing into my mind, into my body.
Yes.
That's the way I interpret it.
Because most people, when you say invest in yourself, you see them sink a little bit because they instantly go to, I can't afford to do that.
Oh, too funny. I think it's a free thing. And to be honest with you, I think it's investing in ourselves it's not a monetary thing.
There's millions of ways you can do it for free that is daily. If you're listening at home right now, you listening to this podcast is you investing in yourself.
Absolutely.
If you listen to an audiobook, that's you investing in yourself. If you take a moment to have aligned supplements and a really good breakfast, that's you investing in yourself. It's intention. Me
Yeah.
investing in myself, the little things I do for myself every day, would you look at it from the outside being like, that's not investing in yourself. It is with
Right.
the intention. When I make
It
myself
is.
a cup of tea, I'm a big tea drinker. It's not just a cup of tea. It's, okay, I'm looking for the mug that fits my mood today. I'm smelling the
Right.
different teas or putting really intentional herbs into what my body needs that day.
Yeah.
And then I sit and I drink it while it's hot. My kids are more than welcome to come, sit with me, be with me, do all the things, but I am not reheating my tea 10 times. That is not the intention I'm setting here. This is a moment for
Right.
me to take care of myself. You
Yeah.
taking a few extra minutes in the evening for skincare or a couple extra minutes in the shower just to be, that's you investing in yourself. And yes, it's wonderful when we can go and hire coaches and do all of these other incredible things that would fall in that category. And if you can do that, amazing. But do not tell yourself you can't invest in yourself in some way every day, because it just takes intention. It can be anything, even things that you're already doing. If you just switch the intention of why and how you're doing it, it can be an investment in yourself.
Absolutely. Even just to a moment of silence, silencing the mind when things are feeling rigid and agitative or high anxiety, or you find yourself being just off,
Mhm.
just a moment of quiet. It could be just 5 minutes just to
Yeah.
kind of ease the monkey mind.
Yeah. I have a lot of my clients, they have a habit now of asking themselves multiple times a day, but at least once, what do I need in this moment?
Yeah.
Okay, it feels very busy. What do
It's a
I
great
need in this
question. What
moment?
do I need?
And sometimes
Yeah.
it's, oh, I feel like I haven't taken a deep breath yet. Pause and take a
And
breath.
that's a big thing. I was just going to say, even just taking a deep breath, because we start to shallow breathe when things get very
Yes, you're
excitable.
breathing in your high
Yeah.
chest. You're not taking those deep belly breaths with keeps you in fight or flight, keeps you in stress, keeps you in the
Mm.
rat race. No, a minute to just have a breath is you investing in yourself. You saying, "Oh, I actually haven't drank any water today. Let me just that's what I need right now." There's so many women that are running
Absolutely.
around chasing after their kids, doing laundry, all the things, and sometimes they'll pause and be like, "What do I need in this moment? Oh my gosh, I need to go to the bathroom. I've been telling myself for an hour that after I do this thing, I'm going to go pee. After this thing, I'm going to It's no, let's invest in yourself, prioritize
Mhm.
yourself first so that you can go do these things in a different energy. It's that. So, where can
I
you
love it.
invest in yourself every day? And of course, if you can go do those big, elaborate things every once in a while, do it. Absolutely. But where can you do it every day?
Yeah.
Sustainability, consistency, right? And the last one, the tip of the pyramid,
Drum roll, please. Just
is healthy comparison.
okay.
There
Oh,
you
that's great.
Yeah, you hear that saying all the time that comparison is the thief of all joy, but only if you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, that's
So,
awesome.
we can use comparison for inspiration, or we can use it to a detriment. We keep talking about my fitness journey, so let's bring that in. If I were to compare my fitness goals and my fitness journey right now to someone in their early 20s who lives in the city, who has a gym down the block or maybe in her apartment building, who doesn't have kids, and I'm watching her on Instagram, I'm like, "Oh, I should be able to do that. Why can't I have this fitness routine? This woman goes to the gym for 2 hours every morning. Like, I should be able to do that." As a almost 40 homeschooling, country living mother, that is not the same game. That would be so detrimental for me to do that. But if I'm looking on social media and I also find someone who loves to be at home with their children, who I have chickens, like it's a whole different lifestyle. And I can find someone who's also pushing 40, hitting their fitness goals and doing it where it comes into their life in a positive way. That's a healthy comparison. I can inspire that person. If I look at someone who's ahead of me, let's say they're 45, I'm 37, I'll be 38 this year, next year. We're close. We're almost at the new year. Anyways, like, I can look ahead and someone be like, "Oh my gosh, she's 45 and she is killing it. I wonder what she was doing 5 years before that and how she built into where
Yeah,
she's at now." Because that stuff doesn't happen overnight. But if I can reverse engineer, okay, she's 45, and if I'm starting now at 37, how can I build to be like, I'm so inspired by what she's doing? That. And you know what? We talked about
yeah,
how people can be, like, detrimental for your dreams and your goals. Someone who has done and achieved what you are looking to do and achieve will never tell you that you can't do it.
absolutely.
You need to find people
Yeah.
who align.
Well, they understand that it's possible, and they for them and the exterior world.
Yes,
So,
and they're gonna give you permission that sometimes it's hard, sometimes you're gonna struggle, sometimes it's gonna
absolutely.
be great, but they're gonna tell you that at the end of all of it, it's worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So healthy
Beautiful.
comparison is the tip of the ice.
I love it. You're a speaker, you're a coach, and you're very dedicated to this practice of, I'm going to say, helping the conscious collective rise their awareness, if I may. So where can people find you?
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I'm on Instagram and Facebook. It's just at Amy Lenius. I shared a link through Podmatch where we have a free
Beautiful.
community.
Yep. And
So
I'll
next
link you as well in here too.
Thank
So
you. So Next Level University has a free Facebook group. We have, I think, close to 800 people in there who are dedicated to small, sustainable self-awareness, self-improvement things every day. And so I myself run that Facebook group, and I am in there posting something that is going to help you be more self-aware every day. And it's a really beautiful community. Talk about people who are only going to
what's the link on that too?
It's called Next Level Nation
Okay. Next Level Nation.
on Facebook, however you want to say it. And it's
Sure.
a free Facebook community. And if you need help getting in there, just reach out, or you have the link as well that you can share.
Beautiful. So again, thank you so much for joining today. This was an absolute joy.
Thank
You,
you.
Amy.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.